The receipt that unveiled horror. Ed Gein's chilling crimes. Darkness often hides in plain sight. In the quiet rural town of Plainfield, Wisconsin, a single piece of paper brought unthinkable horrors to light. This is the story of Ed Gein, a seemingly unremarkable recluse whose mundane purchase of antifreeze revealed a nightmare beyond comprehension. Inspired by his ghastly acts, Hollywood created some of its most terrifying characters, but the reality of Gein's life and crimes far surpasses fiction. This tale is one about small details, fragile trust, and the thin veil separating the ordinary from the monstrous. November 16th, 1957, started like any other day in Plainfield, where life moved at a slow, predictable pace. It was deer hunting season, and most residents were busy preparing for the weekend hunt. But inside Bernice Worden's hardware store, darkness was about to descend quietly and without warning. That morning, Bernice's son, Frank Worden, noticed something unusual. Ed Gein, a peculiar local handyman, purchased a bottle of antifreeze. Ed Gein, with his gaunt frame and awkward demeanor, was considered harmless by most. He kept to himself, an elusive figure in this farming community. No one imagined that this one purchase, documented on a tiny sales receipt, would unmask the horrors he had so carefully hidden. Hours after Ed left the store, Bernice Worden disappeared. The shop, left eerily empty, raised immediate alarms. Frank, a deputy sheriff, suspected foul play. He recalled Gein's odd visit and found the annotated receipt for antifreeze. The connection was subtle but undeniable, and this small clue would lead investigators into the abyss. Frank and local law enforcement followed Gein's trail back to his dilapidated farmhouse, an isolated and decaying structure on the outskirts of Plainfield. Its sagging roof, weathered wood, and overgrown surroundings hinted at neglect, a reflection of Gein himself. Yet, nothing could prepare them for what awaited inside. As officers pushed open the creaky door, a stench permeated the air. It was thick, suffocating, laced with something unrecognizably foul. What they saw defied all comprehension. Hanging in the barn was the mutilated body of Bernice Worden, her corpse treated with unimaginable brutality. The horror didn't end there. Inside the house, dim light illuminated grotesque artifacts that seemed like props from a macabre theater. Lampshades, bowls, furniture, crafted from human skin, masks made from faces, a chilling array of items that told the story of a twisted mind unleashed. Who was Ed Gein? To the residents of Plainfield, he was strange yet harmless, more of an oddity than a threat. He had grown up in isolation under the suffocating grip of Augusta Gein, his fanatically religious and abusive mother. Augusta taught her son to see the world as wicked and corrupt, conditioning him into fearing, even hating, human relationships. When she died, Gein was left alone, untethered, and free to distort his already damaged worldview. Gein was no criminal mastermind. He didn't strive to evade capture or create elaborate plans. He lived plainly, eking out a meager existence while indulging in horrifying practices behind closed doors. His neighbors' dismissive attitude toward his eccentricities allowed him to operate undetected for years. It's chilling to think how close these horrors were to ordinary life, and yet remained unseen until that fateful receipt surfaced. During his confession, Ed Gein admitted to the crimes that would cement his place in infamy. Most of the grotesque items in his home were not the remains of murdered victims, but of bodies exhumed from local graves. For years, Gein had roamed cemeteries at night, robbing graves in a twisted mission to replace his mother. He took remains and used them to fashion macabre trophies, a grim testament to his obsession with death and control. Gein's world was steeped in darkness, but it wasn't driven by malice in the traditional sense. Instead, it was fueled by delusions and an inability to differentiate reality from fantasy. He believed his acts were part of some higher purpose, shaped by the warped beliefs drilled into him during his youth. This psychological cocktail of isolation, trauma, and a fixation on the macabre made Ed Gein one of history's most infamous figures. The news of Gein's arrest sent shockwaves through Plainfield, then rippled across the nation and beyond. The residents, who had once seen their town as a quiet reprieve from the chaos of the outside world, now became hosts to one of the most horrifying stories of the 20th century. What disturbed everyone most was the ordinariness of it all. Gein's quiet life, his benign reputation, the unremarkable nature of the farmhouse. The entire tragedy felt as though reality itself had betrayed them. Yet Gein's tale didn't end with his arrest. His story inspired some of the most iconic horror films and characters in modern culture. Norman Bates in Psycho, Leatherface in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and Buffalo Bill in The Silence of the Lambs all bear traces of Ed Gein's eerie narrative. Hollywood took the unspeakable acts he committed and turned them into nightmares that would forever haunt audiences. At the center of this tale, however, lies that single, mundane receipt. Without it, Gein's atrocities may have gone unnoticed for much longer. It was this tiny paper clue that unraveled the web of horror he had woven. It's a chilling reminder of the power of small details and the fragile barrier between safety and terror. Frank Worden, acting on gut instinct, had stumbled upon a vital thread in the fabric of Ed Gein's crimes. This story serves as a stark testament to the importance of vigilance and the ability to recognize the significance of the seemingly insignificant. Ed Gein's story is infamous not just because of the horrifying nature of his acts, but because of the way they emerged. It's a tale that forces us to consider the dark corners of the human psyche and the thin line between ordinary and monstrous. How could such depravity fester in plain sight, unnoticed by anyone? This isn't just a story about a man and his crimes. It's about society's blind spots, our willingness to overlook the unusual, and the comfort we take in the assumption that evil is far from us. In truth, sometimes evil is quiet. It lives next door, shops at the same store, and leaves a receipt behind. Ed Gein's crimes gripped America in their day, and their influence continues to stretch across time. They reveal the fragile threads holding civilization together and the horrors that lurk just beneath its surface. Stories like his resonate not just because they terrify us, but because they disturb our trust in the simplicity of everyday life. As the credits roll on this dark tale, one question lingers. If such horrors can unfold in a quiet little town, hidden behind the guise of normalcy, what else might the world be hiding? Remember, darkness doesn't always announce its arrival. Sometimes it leaves a trail as small as a receipt. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a like to show your support. Make sure to hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you never miss an update from Evil Unmasked. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment below with your theories or suggestions for future topics. Stay curious, stay safe, and we'll see you in the next video.